Hi, pursuers. Welcome to the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your podcast host, Naz Kazimi. I just feel like I'm just echoing, so pardon me if I am. Although I did check and quality check everything to make sure that we are not. So, anyways, I just want to say that just kind of to go back a little bit on yesterday's podcast where I did a quick recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and then I did a quick recap of Salt Lake City, and then I got into Beverly Hills. I was unsure. I'm like, was that good enough? Like, should I have done more? But then today when I went on, I was doing my walk with my dog, and I was listening to other podcasts, which, by the way, I haven't not had time to listen to many other podcasts since I've been podcasting myself. So surprise, surprise. But while I was doing my podcast, listening to my podcast, I heard pretty much the same opinion as me. So that made me feel a lot better. And part of it was that like this entire Salt Lake City reunion was just not, it just wasn't happening, you guys. Something was just not, something was off. And I don't want to say that I don't want to say that it's the cast, but like, I'm just going to reiterate a little bit again on what I said yesterday because I barely said anything yesterday, so I'm not going to say anything new today, but like, nothing really happened this season. And when it came to a point of me watching the reunions and my daughter was like, aren't you going to take notes? I was like, no, like there's just nothing to take notes on. It was just such a boring reunion. Was the season as boring? I don't think so. I think the season was much more entertaining. I'm not going to lie about that. But like, if you really want to get specific and be like, did we really learn anything about any of the cast? And I even put in my show notes, the season started off with me kind of not liking Meredith and Lisa. And then it ended with me loving them. And that's the general consensus that you get from everybody. Not that, that they didn't like them in the beginning and they loved them, but it's just like, it became the Lisa and Meredith show. And really, they're the only ones that divulge any information about any of their lives. Like, I still don't know much about. I mean, Angie did do the Greek trip. We did see a little bit of her family, but it's like it's not the day-to-day things. It was just kind of like a big overall like trip that she's Greek. We didn't really see much with her and her. I saw more about Angie on the Wife Swap show than I with her husband and how they interact than I did on this season of Salt Lake City. And Angie's one of my favorites. Okay. I think general consensus still stays that not a lot of people are happy with Heather. We don't know anything about Heather. Not one thing about Heather. We just know that her daughter's left. Who she's banging. Hi, Carlos King. Yes, I heard that. Who she's banging. Who she's hanging out with. I don't even hear Whitney call her cousin anymore. She's just like my best friend. So it's like, what has changed? Like, we don't know anything. And God be it, like, I love Mary. But like, she barely talked about Robert Jr. that season. I never see anything about Robert Sr. I even saw Andy mention Robert Sr., but then that's like kind of where it ended. Like there was just no more. And I was just like, why are we constantly beating around the bush when it comes to that? Like honestly, I'm a bit confused. But I don't produce the shows. And one thing I did hear is that, and it keeps going back to the black eye with Heather, is Heather needs to just come clean about that. And the reason that people keep bringing up that season is because something is off. Something is fishy. The audience, we're human beings. We're not dummies. Like, we weren't born yesterday. Something was off about that season. Just be honest. Like, just tell us what happened. Like, where did we lose the plot in that season? And it keeps coming up because we know that it's just there's a big piece of it that's missing that we still don't know, and it's supposed to be a reality show. And that girl, Heather Gay, goes heavy on the other cast members. But when it comes to her, why are we missing this big chunk of history that happened, So, again, I don't really have much to say about the Salt Lake City reunion. I will leave it at that. Let's get into Real Housewives of Potomac, okay? So I have episode 15 and 16 here that I'm going to recap, and then we'll do some Southern Charm on this episode as well. I just want to say that I still really like Angel. I did watch it all. up until obviously the very end, which we'll get into. But I still really like Angel. And just because I have questions for her regarding this trip doesn't mean that I don't like her. I know a lot of people are not really into her. I still like her. It's just like me chatting with my brother or my mom or my daughter or my friend. And it's not like I hate them, but I have questions because some things that they've done just doesn't make sense to me. So I just want to put it out there with that. Now, Real Housewives of Potomac season 10 episode 15 starts off with Angel a bit upset that the ladies feel like they know her relationship, especially Monique saying that Bobby's the dad. He should be fine with the kids. Monique eventually does try to explain herself, and I understand. She's only going off what she has known from the past, what she's seen from Angel, and what she knows from herself from the past. I have a couple opinions about this. Yes, dads should be able to. Dads don't babysit. Dads don't watch the kids. Dads are dads. Let me take it back a little bit more personal. I had a dad that stayed with us. A lot of Persians, and I'm Iranian, I'm Persian. A lot of Persians that I knew, their fathers would send the family to Canada and they would hang back in Iran. And then eventually they would never come back from Iran. They would start their own family there, maybe still sending money to their family that's in Canada or the US, or completely cutting them off in total. My dad never left. My dad was always there, physically. God bless his soul. He's still alive. I love the guy to death. He's learned a lot throughout his life, but he was always there physically. Now, was he always there emotionally? Was he at all our soccer games, especially mine? Was he present as a father? No. I can fully say that. And sometimes you don't know what is worse. You know, if is it better that he just wasn't around at all? Or was it better that he was there in the physical form, but just never actually present at any of the stuff that you wanted him to be at? I don't know, because I don't know any different. Have I forgiven my father? Of course. Do I still remember? Of course. These are things that lead to your core memories, and you can't erase them. They also make you much more of a stronger person if you can evolve from that into something that can, if you want to evolve it into something that can, what can I see or learn from this incident that's happened, or this kind of situation that I was stuck in? For a long time I didn't, though. But as my dad got older and my dad became disabled through a stroke, and my dad, I see how he is with my own daughter, I feel like my dad, out of everyone in my family, has changed the most. It could be very well that he's disabled and he's unable to do anything, so he has a lot more time to reflect, or he can't do anything. It's not like he can get up and beat us, So do I base my opinion of him now on his current behavior and how he has sort of evolved? Absolutely I do. Does it erase it? No. Does it change who I am? No. But it does make a little bit more peace in the end for me, I get along much more better with my dad now than I did before. And I love to see how they treat my daughter, Now, I love my mom and I love my brother to death, but they still treat my daughter like she's me. So sometimes I have resentments. I'm like, she's a completely different person. She's much younger. She doesn't know the family history. And of course, when my daughter, if me and my parents are going at it, she's going to jump in and defend her mom for many reasons. A, I'm her mom. B, and even if I was her mom, but I was doing something wrong, I don't think she would step in, but I think she sees everything through my point of view because she's with me the most. And she does feel like I'm perhaps misunderstood. Okay. Anyways, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. The point I'm trying to make here is that the dynamic of every family is so completely different. Okay. But can you judge and base what you see based on what you've known from your past? Absolutely you can. It's actually the easiest, I don't want to say trap, but it's the easiest kind of mindset to fall into, because you just sort of sit there and you're like, I've seen this behavior before. We're no flies on the wall. We don't know how the interactions are. We just have seen the behavior before. That's it. And so automatically as human beings, your mind goes into following the path that sort of behavior has gone down before or seen before, So bringing it back to the Real Housewives of Potomac, I do see how Angel can feel upset because although Monique does see things that could perhaps trigger her memory and bringing her back into her own past, this is a completely different relationship. But with that being said, I don't think Monique was saying anything malicious. And I love the fact that Monique didn't let it end. I love Monique. And I love the fact that she didn't let it end on a bad foot. Like she even went up to Angel and at the end, which we'll get into, and kind of like comforted her and said, like this group, I think just needs a little bit more vulnerability. And I'm sorry if you feel like you're giving yourself as much as you are and it's just not good enough. But best advice I can give you, Back to the dads and the whole situation between Angel and Bobby. They are also still married. And it's not like she's asking him to just only watch the kids. They are used to, again, what's being portrayed to us and what from what Angel's saying, they're used to checking in with each other and making sure things are okay. And I think that's completely okay. Now, I'm not married. I don't want to be married. I don't want to have that type of check-in with anybody because maybe I just I haven't met somebody that I feel like I could have that sort of like intimate check-in with, or that is their answer is going to really sway anything that I'm thinking. But they are in a marriage and they're happy and that's what works for them. So I don't know why it's such a big issue for everybody else if that's the way that they see it. Okay. Wendy does mention that this convo has gone back to Angel. And everyone knows that it's Jazzy that has done it. Okay. Well, Jazzy has become friends with Angel, she says, and she's like, Angel did need to know. And that kind of gives the girls, it sends off a lot of red flags for the other girls. I don't know why. I mean, how come Kyle can go back and tell Jennifer Tilly that what Sutton said, but when Jazzy wants to go back and tell Angel what the other girl said, it's a big deal. Anyways, when the ladies enter the private jet, Angel starts apologizing. Gizelle shuts it down so quick. Like, she says it's too late. Wendy also says no one has checked in, not even to see how they're doing. Now, in the confessional, Angel admits that she should have reached out, but she was problem solving. And she doesn't mention this part, but as she was in tears. And I think that's the vulnerability that Monique and the other girls just want to see. You don't have to cry in front of them, but you can be like, look, I was bawling my eyes out. I was in tears because I was trying to figure this out. And I knew that this was going to fall on my shoulders again. And yes, the girls are going to be a little bit more resistant. But I think Angel, I don't think she was trying to pretend to front that she wasn't trying to figure this out. But leaving out these kind of important details, sometimes people, and for me, it's also weird as well. Sometimes I get into it with my brother and I'm like, what do you want? Do you want me to get on the floor and cry all those times that I've cried or tried to like hurt myself because of this? And he's like, well, how come you just never said that? Well, there's some boundaries about what I want to tell the world. You know what I mean? But I think sometimes what makes you more human or more relatable to people is when they know of those things. So without it breaking your boundary too much, I think it's okay to a point to explain to people what you're going through. And yeah, if that makes sense, So with that being said, I just want to say that these ladies did not cut short of making sure that Angel knew that she was a terrible host. And I kind of feel bad for Angel that moment, In the confessional, again, Angel admits that she should have reached out, but, she was in tears, but they made sure that she knew that she was the problem. And so Gizelle saying that this was the worst trip, I find that hard to believe because... And I really do feel bad for Angel because she's trying, and it's just the fact that she didn't check in. Okay, she didn't check in. Sorry, moving forward, she's going to check in. But there have been a lot more worse trips that even Gizelle outlined. For example, when she was in the broken foot. Girl, you had a broken freaking foot, okay? And you're trying to say that this trip with Angel was the worst? They put you on Wendy put you on the second floor with a broken foot. And you had to room with Robin, which is probably not so bad, but it was like they had little single beds. And the husbands were there, and your husband wasn't there. Actually, you and Robin's husbands were both not there. You didn't have one. Sorry, not sorry. And Robin just didn't come. So, I don't know. Gizelle just seems to forget. I think the whole 10 million downloads thing has gotten to her head, Anyways, they make it to the whiskey lounge in Aspen. Again, Angel apologizes, takes accountability for her mistakes, and Monique at that point confronts Jazzy for telling Angel what she thought might have been going on. So, again, sad for me to see because I do love Monique and I love Angel, so I don't want to see them like against each other. But I do love, and I've said this before, I do love when I see Monique hug her and give her some advice at the end. And I did not want Monique and Angel to be at odds because they're my two favorite players in this season and this game, right? So after, and what happens at that point is just Angel was upset and she's like, no matter what I do, no matter how much I try, it's just never good enough for these ladies. And that's when Monique says, I think they just want to see a little bit of their vulnerability. So again, maybe her crying in tears, the other girls saw that, because I know that they softened up a little bit after they saw that Angel was crying. I don't think I know when it comes to my family and friends, they don't want to see that I'm crying. They just want to see that it's affected me somehow, because sometimes strong people can act as if it hasn't bothered them, but I don't think I ever do that. I don't think I try to pretend that it's never bothered me or I haven't been sad from it, but it seems like that's what it gives off. I just don't know how else to be like, without being crying and sad and tears, to explain to you that, like, how come my words are not enough? You know what I mean? Like, how come I have to actually be in tears and crying for you to believe me? Like, I think it's just strong person syndrome. Sometimes strong people are just too, and again, I don't see it that way, but this is what I've been told. Like, I feel like I get so vulnerable, but it's still not enough for other people. And then you get to a point where it's like, well, what's the boundary? Like, why do I have to be in tears every conversation just to prove to you that, like, I'm emotional over this, And yes, I keep thinking about my brother when I talk about stuff like this. Anyways, they make it to Kimosabi. Let's not forget the incident on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills with Lisa Rinna and Kathy Hilton. Do you guys remember the Kimosabi? And then after Kimosabi, they went to the club. Kathy wanted them to play a song. That person didn't want to play a song. It was a DJ. They didn't want to play Michael Jackson. And then a bunch of racial slurs came out from Kathy Hilton in the Sprinter van on the way home with Lisa Rinna in the car. At the reunion, this was brought up. Lisa Rinna quits after that season, and we're never to see her again. So Kimosabi has a lot of interesting references for the Housewives. Now, Tia and the bolo tie had me laughing because I remember the stripper bolo on the Housewives of Atlanta. That is one of my favorite episodes, y'all. Bolo is just great. But then all the ladies kind of express or share what they buy, and Stacey doesn't buy anything because she says that she's not at the level of the other ladies. Now, I never knew that because she always tries to make herself seem perhaps like she is. She just started a business, drives the same car as Ashley, I think, wears the same clothes as everybody else. So this is brand new news to me, okay? Anyways, then Mauricio shows up. I love Mauricio. I've always thought Mauricio has been so freaking good looking. I don't care what's happened between him and Kyle. Obviously, I would never try to get with him, but I'm just saying, I find him to be one of the most handsomest husbands on the Real Housewives. And because it's Alexia's bachelorette party, which is his daughter, the oldest daughter, that's getting married. So they came to Aspen, and Gizelle makes it adamant that he's off limits. One part I do love is how they break the fourth wall and they mix the Beverly Hills with Potomac, which I just did like a few minutes ago when I was saying how come Kyle can say that about Jennifer Tilly to Sutton, but it's always, I feel like Housewives and Beverly Hills and Potomac kind of sometimes go hand in hand. Anyways, the caviar bump is hilarious. We all know bumps what they're for, so they're all doing a caviar bump. Sometimes I find it so funny that they bring stuff like this to the TV. Maybe it's because I'm an ex-addict. Like, I would never talk about bumps and blah, blah, because I feel like if I were to ever do that, someone would be watching it or just be like, oh, yeah, because she's done that before, right? With, cocaine, right? So then I, would never want to, do that on TV, but these ladies just so openly do their little caviar bumps. Angel did have another event planned for tomorrow, which was the fly fishing and barbecue, but Gizelle says that since she's taken over the plan, she's taking everyone to the Four Seasons, I believe, yeah. And a part of them kind of getting together was that Angel and all the ladies were going to stay with them for the night, and they'd even planned that they were going to go to a little honky tonk bar that's next door. So then, great. Everyone's laughing, having a good time, drunk, taking their showers, watching their punanis, whatever. season 15 ends. I mean, sorry, episode 15 ends. Now we start with episode 16. But it, like, first thing it shows is that Angel, Kai, Kiana, and Tia were not in their beds. But anyways, it shows the ladies starting to like wake up and that they're supposed to go to the fly fishing thing. It also shows that the night before, Jazzy and Ashley did actually end up going out. They did the bull riding. They had a great time, etc., etc. Okay. So again, Ashley and Jazzy are the ones that went out. All the other ladies went to bed. Angel, Kiana, and Tia didn't sleep in their rooms. But with that being said, Gizelle kind of tells the other ladies, the other five, because it's Gizelle, Jazzy, Wendy, Ashley, and Stacy. She's like, well, they left, and we were all under the impression that we were all going to do everything together the next day without them leaving. This is true. But even with that being said, they all decided, okay, let's go to the fly fishing excursion before we head to the airport. So at this point, this is just me giving my personal opinion. I do love activities. I do love doing all these kind of fun things. But at this point, I was kind of getting a little bit like my head was starting to hurt because just the whole back and forth. And I love being in the car. But I only love being in the car if I'm driving. And it seemed like they had a driver. So I could not imagine being in the car. Like, it just seemed like the whole trip, and again, production does play a part of it. It's not that it's their fault. I mean, majority of the trip, it seemed like they were in a car, but it started to give me a headache just to watch it, because you're not listening to your own music, you're filming, and it looked like the drivers were white. Like, how are you going to listen to some hip hop and go really like gangster when you have white drivers, Anyways. In one of the cars is Stacy, Wendy, and Jazzy. And Stacy starts getting upset with Jazzy for exchanging phone numbers with Charisse. So Jazzy brings up how Stacy wasn't going to come to her wedding until she found out that Wendy and Ashley were going. Okay? So one of the cars, this is the altercation that's going on between the three ladies. Wendy gets heated. Stacy tries to maintain her cool, but she somewhat gets heated. Jazzy really gets heated. Meanwhile, the ladies are on their way to the fly fishing, but Angel, Tia, and Kiana are going the complete opposite way. This is what starts to make me question, Angel, why did you plan this when you don't even know how to get there? And where's the driver? Maybe it would have been better if there was a driver so that you could kind of interact with the girls, not worry about driving. This is a big miss on Angel's part, and as much as I love Angel, I have to agree with her. Or I have to agree with the rest of the ladies that like she missed the mark so bad with this. This could have been something that could have just like wrapped it up, but like huge miss. Not to mention, if she really wanted the ladies to wake up early enough, she should have stayed at the hotel. Who cares? Go back to the hotel, stay there with the ladies, with all the other ladies and their stuff, wake everyone up, get everyone going on the road at the same time so they have enough time at the barbecue, I felt so bad for the chef and the lady that were setting up the barbecue. Like, it looks so good. Like, I wish I was there. I wish I could have flown in at that moment. And I still, at this point, don't understand how they didn't make it to the fly fishing. I really don't. But Stacy and Jazzy fight, and in turn, Stacy and Wendy start to fight. And this is when they were all at the gas station getting food, because the gas station wasn't far from the fly fishing excursion. But I think, it could have been, who knows? But the way that it was played out, like they were so close, but yet like it still needed another 2 hours to get to the airport. So that like, we're just going to turn around now. There's just no point in going there. So they all get their pizzas and their food at the gas station. The fight happens. They get into a fight, the ladies. Then they make up. Then they get into kind of another little fight. Then they make up. In the end, it looks like this is the final episode, though. Okay. It does all their, it flashes their little like final kind of things that's going on. Interesting to note is that, okay, so Stacy and Timu are still together, but they're not planning on getting remarried. That's a bit interesting. The whole Wendy situation, that shortly after this was filmed, she got charged with fraud with her husband. Nothing really much interesting for the other ladies, to be honest. oh, this is what I found interesting. And I saw this outside of the film, the Potomac thing, like at the end. But so that binder party that they had for with Monique, you know how they went and there was that binder party, that was actually filmed after the whole Colorado incident. So Andy asks Ashley, oh sorry, I'm so sorry. Andy asks Angel. Andy asked Angel, so did you end up getting a place in Potomac to rent after? She's like, yes, we did. We were there, but it just because the way that they brought to the TV or made in production, how they made it look like Monique's binder party. Remember when she was releasing her book was first, and then the very very end incident was the Colorado trip. She's like, because of that, it made it look like we didn't have a place, but we actually found a place shortly after. And then Andy proceeds to ask, okay, so have you ended up buying a place? She's like, well, now we just ended up buying a $2 million home in Potomac. But after that, after we rented another place, we did all that. We came back, we gave up that rented place, and then we were looking for a place to buy. So if you look at it that way, that like the Colorado trip happened in the middle of the season, and then at the very end was like Monique's binder party, you can tell the animosity between the ladies and Angel, and you can understand it a little bit better. Not that it makes it okay, but you understand it a little bit better as to why like they were so angry with her in some parts, because some scenes and events were filmed intermittently with other ones, and then just the way they laid it out for the season for the viewers to watch was a little bit mismatched. So that makes a lot more sense. I think when they break the fourth wall and explain things like that, it makes a lot more sense. And Andy was totally cool with Angel explaining it that way, and it made a lot more sense for me. And again, I'm Team Angel, so I like to see where she kind of wins, and that makes sense, because I don't want to hate her. I don't think I could ever, but I don't want to. And when you see things like that, it makes more sense. But again, for someone that wants to continuously not like her, like it makes sense why they would just totally overshadow that, you know? Now, before I go on to the next part, I just want to say that the one last thing that has happened that didn't make this the final episode, like there's still going to be one more episode, is Andy goes to Karen Huger's house because Karen gets released from jail. So they give all the ladies like final kind of like end of the season little notes of this episode, but I thought, okay, great. So they're going to show us a preview for the reunion, but no reunion. There's still one more actual seasonal episode, and that's when Karen gets out of jail and Andy goes and interviews her. So that's going to be exciting to see. I'm excited. Okay. So that's the end of Real Housewives of Potomac for now, guys. Okay. Let's get into Southern Charm. We're going to go with Southern Charm. How many do I have here? Okay, so I have two. So I have episodes 7 and 8 that we're going to recap, and it seems like an episode 9 came out. I just had to go quickly check, so I was like, am I writing something wrong here? But we'll do 7 and 8, and 9 will be out either this week, guys, or next week. I'm just trying to catch up, okay? So Southern Charm, season 11, episode 7. Sorry, I'm doing 7 and 8. That's the episodes that we're doing. Riley, who's every time I put the notes in my phone, you guys, Salley ends up being Wallet. So it says Riley, Wallet's friend. Riley, Sally's friend, comes over to help Salley set up the kitchen coop. Meanwhile, and they're talking about like Craig the whole time, because they're like, oh, so Craig made you do this, blah blah blah. But meanwhile, Charlie's having an event at our art gallery, and Craig shows up with his assistant. Ouch, Salley. Okay, ouch. Madison hires professional organizers to help organize her bedroom. Literally, when we saw the mess, and it wasn't a mess, it was just, it wasn't dirty, it was just messy. There was just clothes everywhere. My daughter literally looks right at me, and I'm like, okay, no, noted. But that's pretty much my room, okay? And I definitely need professional organizers. Anyways, Madison talks to Brett, and Brett is in California for work. As we know, he's a firefighter. He's still in California for his own reasons, benefits, etc., etc. Madison saying that she's probably going to take Salley to an ultrasound. And Brett thinks that that's a great idea. And then shortly after, you see Whitner and Austen. They meet up for drinks. it's really sad to see the demise of Craig and Austen, because I mean, when they had their podcast at the height of it, me and my daughter would always listen to it. It was fun. It was good times. They had good guests on. But Whitner calls it like it's a past friendship, and now it's become almost like a rivalry, because Austen has the victim card in one hand, whereas Craig is like the narcissist card in the other. So it's like you can't mend a friendship when both are kind of thinking this kind of when they kind of have these kind of like animosities towards each other, you know. Vanita meets up with Leva and Rodrigo and Molly. I love Rodrigo and I love Molly, and I do love Vanita. Just leave it at that. Interesting to see Leva there, though. Vanita explains to the group that about the squabble between her and Salley, and Rod says how Craig has stated that he's not going to sleep with anyone who slept with Shep, and that includes Salley. And that's kind of interesting. I didn't really realize that Salley had slept with Shep, but then if I really want to get into the nitty gritty, like Shep has slept with every single person on the cast ever. It's just so weird to me. I don't understand. I don't know why. It's like, is it like a, what's it called? An initiation that people have to go through? Like, I really don't get it. It's either Whitney, not Whitner. It's either Whitney, like the producer, like Patricia's son, or Shep. And they're the oldest on the shows. Like, it's so gross. Anyway, Salley, it later shows when Salley meets up with Craig to go get the what's it called? Chickens, because now she set up the chicken coop with her friend Riley. This is something that she and Craig talked about in their hot tub. Great. Now they go to get the chickens, and Salley tells Craig that she's caught feelings. And Craig says, that's nice, but I don't see it that way. And I thought that, like, as much as I don't like Craig this season, I thought that was fine. And it's not, I don't think it's fine because I also don't like Salley, but I just think that he wasn't rude about it. He was just like, I thought we were friends, and I would just rather us stay friends, you know? I think the person that got butthurt was Salley. And now she causes all this tornado-ish drama after it. So it's funny when all this is going on, because then on the other hand, you see that Craig has asked Charley out on a date to the oyster farm. Now, again, not a big fan of Craig this season, but yum. I would love to go to an oyster farm, especially if they have it with like the garlic oil. Oh my God. Anyways, so bonus points for Craig. Still don't like him, but bonus points. But Charley does feel guilty because she is friends with Salley, and I find that to be such an awkward position to be in, because you know that your friend kind of wants to be in the position that you're in. And later it does show Charley get a bit emotional, but I don't think she needs to at all. Like, it's not her fault at all. She's not her fault that Craig asked her out. Like, who cares? Just go out. It's not like he didn't ask for her hand in marriage. And even if he did, so what, Salley? Like, F you. Like, you were warned, girl. Like, get out of here. Like, just because you like someone doesn't mean they have to like you back. Like, you know? I'm not liking Salley at all this season. And it even goes to show later. We get into the situation with Austen, but we'll get there. Salley comes to meet Madison for her ultrasound, and she says that she views Madison as an older sister. I see that too. Madison has gone through so much through the show, and honestly, like, it's even me, like, it's such a life to aspire to. Not necessarily exactly what she has, but like that she's gone through all the trouble that she did, and then she finally found the guy that was great for her, and she's still able to stay on the show, and he's really understanding of her decisions and whatnot. I mean, frig, remember A-Rod messaged her? Like, Alex Rodriguez, who was with Jennifer Lopez, messaged Madison LaCroix. Like, that girl literally has gone through it all, you know? And now she's, like, pregnant, and she lives in this big house. She does explain, like, she does put her story out there, you know? I don't think that she's just on the show to kind of be like a Patricia, to kind of, like, blend the groups together, but she does explain the situation with her and Brett. She does explain the situation with, like, just everything that's going on in her life. She's honest. So I think that Madison I never liked her at the beginning, but has become a key person on the show, which is great to see because she's also a female. And so Salley says that, you know, you are what I want to have, hopefully in a few years when I can meet someone that can, you know, step up to the plate, really. Anyways, Whitner and Craig are playing pool, And Whitner tells Craig, yeah, Salley and Austen are close, which confuses Craig because he, A, sees Salley all the time, and Salley never mentions this. But also, Salley is the type of person that tells everyone everything, and Austen is the type of person that tells everyone nothing. So it's kind of weird that they have this kind of friendship because, like, what? Anyways, Rod and Austen go to meet up with them as well, and they all kind of play pool. They're all just kind of having a bro moment. Craig then proceeds to tell Austen that he's invited Charley to the oyster farm. And that's cool, you know. Austin's like, cool, yeah, nice. They leave to go to another bar, and then at that time they decide that they're going to crash the girls' night. I do agree with Craig that he can't do anything with Charley because Salley seems to insert herself into every scenario. And that's why Charley's feeling the way that she's feeling. Like she has all this anxiety around just being with Craig alone, you know? It's sad. Now, at the same time that this is happening, like they're at their boys' pool kind of night, Madison's prepping for her girls' sleepover. The house looks great. First person to show up is Vanita. Then I think it's Molly after, and then Charley, and then at the very end, Salley. Oh, and also one of Madison's friends. I forgot her girlfriend's name, but then they all change into these pajamas that Madison has for them. She made her living room so cute, so girly, so pink. They all change into the pajamas. They all make their little pizzas, their homemade pizzas. And then when they're sitting around the circle, Madison tells Salley that she's told the group about Craig. And then Vanita and Salley kind of exchange words. In Vanita's opinion, she feels like Salley just dismisses how she feels. She never really validates how she's feeling. And by validation, I feel like it doesn't need to be right or wrong. It just needs to, oh yeah, I totally understand how you would feel that way. Salley sort of just turns around and kind of expects Vanita to not feel anything and kind of, and this is what I see, make everything about her. And it's like, dude, nothing is about you. You've been on the show 2 seasons. Calm down. Number 2, where's the energy that you had when Vanita was a JT and now you don't have that sort of energy? I don't know. It's really weird for me to see the flip with Salley. But again, I think it's because Sally is going through her own thing right now. So Salley kind of wants the validation. And then they both are at a place in their lives where they're just unable to support each other the way that they need it. And that's fine. That happens in friendships. It's just a point of communication and then moving past it. Something, and now simultaneously the boys again are having their pool night. Something happens with Craig. He's pissed because I think he told Austen that like he can't do anything with Charley without Salley getting involved. And Austen's like, well, why are you so pissed that Salley would want to get involved? Like, you and her were like best friends for the entire month. And this is something that really stuck to me. Craig was like, we weren't best friends. Just because I hang out with somebody a lot doesn't make them my best friend, Austen. And I agree with that. Like, just because you're with someone a lot for like 1 month doesn't make them your best friend. But Austen's like, yeah, me and Sally are best friends. You know, I love Austen, but this is where I kind of start to disagree with him. And like now he's shitting on Craig again for like, you know, for sending mixed signals to Salley. But I don't think that is Austen's place. I think if Austen really wanted to mend it, he would keep his mouth shut. Austen reminds me a lot about my brother. Like, everything turns into a negative and like a lecture. He doesn't really need to lecture Craig. He could just be like, oh, cool. Yeah, I know. Okay, I understand. Or don't say anything at all. Be like, yeah, whatever, you feel that way. Totally understandable, you know? You don't have to agree with him to then make it seem like you're going against Salley, because now all of a sudden Austen and Salley are best friends. But at the same time, he doesn't have to start lecturing Craig again. So I know how Craig just feels like it's like impossible to have a conversation with Austen. And I get it. Everything becomes a lecture and like, well, you should have done it differently. You should have done it that way. Like, just support your friend, Austen, please. Anyways, at the same time, so Craig leaves the boys night, and the boys leave shortly after to go crash the girls' sleepover. When the boys arrive, Sally's like, well, where's Craig? And then Austen's like, well, Craig didn't come. He's upset. He says that you're a path of destruction and you're a tornado. And I don't think that that's what Craig meant to say, like, alone. Like, it wasn't just that point on its own. It's just that, you know, if he wants to go hang out with somebody else, then it becomes like a tornado-ish kind of path of destruction. So they were all drinking. It was relayed to Salley in a bad way. And then Rod And I don't know if Rod was drunk, but it seemed like Rod knew what he was doing, but like, under the pretenses of being drunk, was like, don't say anything now because Charlie's going on a date with him. And then Salley looks at Charlie and she's like, what, you are? And Charlie finally admits it. She's like, yeah, and you know what? Like, initially I didn't, but now I actually enjoy hanging out with him. And like, he invited me to the oyster bar. Like, I already said yes, I'm gonna go. Good for you, Charlie. Go. And then now Salley wants to be Vanita, and now Salley says, well, it happened to me. It's gonna happen to you, really? Because how come when Vanita was telling you that you didn't believe Vanita? You're like, let me experience it on my own. Let Charlie experience it on her own. Okay? Maybe it won't happen that way. Two things can be true at the same time. Craig cannot like you, but maybe like Charlie. So Charlie's experience with Craig is going to be different than your experience with Craig. Why can that not be true? Looks like you're being a shitty friend now, Salley. Anyways, I was just so happy that Charlie kind of stood up for herself in that moment. Southern Charm is really good, you guys. You need to watch this. If you haven't been consistent, watch it. So we get into episode 8. Craig calls Madison and tells him that he's upset that he didn't make it to the sleepover, but that he does have a crush on Charlie. Yes, we all knew that, Craig. Charlie meets up with Molly and they do the little arts and crafts thing, and she tells her that there's a lot of anxiety around this date, and she breaks down a bit and she gets vulnerable, and you can tell, like, even Molly's like, I know it sucks that you have to feel this way, because Charlie's saying, like, I mean, Charlie did break out in tears, but I think she broke out more in tears because the anxiety around it and like that feeling in her chest, rather than, and I'm not saying that she doesn't feel bad for Salley, but it was more that feeling in her chest than how Salley feels, And I agree. Like, what a shitty, you're doing something fun, but like, it's like there's a big cloud over your head because of what your friends are going to think. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyways, Molly's like, well, Salley says that she's not bothered by it, so maybe you should just go on that. Just be like, okay, well, you're not bothered, then I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to have fun with Craig. And she explained herself at the party. I want to go. I have a good time with him. I want to go enjoy my time with him. Yeah, go. Do not care what these girls have to say at all, Charlie. I'm on your side. But one thing that Molly actually did say, I just want to clock this, you guys. Molly clocked it when she said, so is Craig a bad guy when he likes Charlie, but he was a good guy when you were into him, Salley? And I agree. Why is Craig all of a sudden a bad guy, Salley? Again, two things can be true at once. He cannot like you, but he can like Charlie. I mean, how weird would it be if you like two people at the same time? That's kind of weird. So obviously he's going to have to pick one. He's chosen Charlie. Like, get over it. Then it goes to Rod and his fiance. Rod is so cute. So his fiance, I think it's Tyler, and they want to fix their kitchen before spending $40,000 on a wedding. It's so funny because every time I see celebrities or Bravo celebrities or just anybody, A, B, C, D list actors, celebrities self-deprecate, they always reference something that they read on Reddit. And I use Reddit a lot, so I'm not too sure if it's like that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he's like, I know that my kitchen looks like it's a grandma kitchen, okay? But yeah, that was cute. So I guess Rod and his fiance got engaged in Greece 9 months ago. So now they're slowly getting to a point of, planning the wedding and, et cetera, et cetera. Next it goes, it shows Austen and his sister getting sibling tattoos. And I guess what happened was that Austen had an older sister who passed. He's in the middle. But after his older sister passed, shortly after, his parents became pregnant again. They had the younger sister, Katie. Because the older sister, her birth year was 1984. Yay, my birth year. But then the younger sister is 1996. And he only chose those two because he's like, those 2 years. Because he's like, without 1984, there wouldn't be no 1996. I believe it's 1996. Don't quote me on that. But so, I mean, an interesting story about this. Let me go off on tangent. When I lived in Alberta, I think I was in grade 3. I also had a girl in my class. Her name was Stephanie. I remember vividly. And she had 2 brothers. And one brother had recently passed because they had gone camping. And the one brother went on the other side. And this is why I hate woods. This story has traumatized me. The brother goes on the other side of the woods. And they were hunting. And the dad accidentally shot the brother in the shoulder, which ended up killing him because he thought that he was like maybe a deer out there. Like he just saw something moving. So now Stephanie had these 2 brothers, but one ended up dying at the hands of the father, who was with the other son they were hunting, and they just didn't realize that was the son, So yeah, it's just kind of hit me a different kind of way when I heard that, because I'm like, that's so funny, because it's not similar. I think Austen's sister had fallen off a cliff. Very sad. She was young. But just the lone boy with the two sisters reminded me of the girl that I knew in grade 3, Stephanie, who had the two brothers, right? So anyways, so the next thing, oh yeah, so let me finish this thought off first. Katie's telling Austen that she really loves Audrey, and that it's just shitty for her that Austen can't really make a commitment to her at this point. And Austen agrees. So that's never a good sign. Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that they're not dating now, so I can just tell where this is headed. And it shows by the end of the episode. Then Benita goes to lunch with her mom. And Benita's mom's pretty cool. I love the relationship that she has with her mom. And Benita says that, it took me moving out from me and my mom's relationship to get a lot better. And I feel that, because that's like me and my family as well. I can't be with my family for too long unless it's my dad. But actually, only my brother. I can't be with my brother for too long, but when I am long distance, like, we get along better. Same as a lot of my friends, believe it or not. It's really weird. But anyways, Vanita's mom doesn't agree with Vanita for telling Salley, don't come to me with Craig when it hurts you, because her mom says, well, you're friends because it's through the worst of times and the best of times. And that really gets Vanita thinking. She's like, really? You think that? She's like, yeah, of course. Like, you can't just say, now all of a sudden you're going through this, don't come to me. Again, this is not a reason to not be friends, but this is a reason for people to kind of take a step back and reevaluate your friendship. I don't think there's anything bad with that. I think these kind of hiccups and things that you go through in friendships make the friendship stronger in the end, especially when you're able to communicate with them. Shep is back from Cuba. He caught a marlin fish. Yay, Shep. He went with his uncle, his cousin, and his dad. And he's staying with Craig until he can furnish his new home, which is the home that Rod is furnishing for him. And then his other house that he was in prior, that he was like actually living in, is now being rented out as like a short-term rental, so I guess Airbnb. But when he shows up at Craig's house, Craig feels Shep in about the Salley drama, and I love to see that Shep agrees with Craig, and not necessarily like agrees with his behavior, but it's kind of like a friend for him, because that's what Craig was looking for in Austen, and unfortunately at this time Austen just can't be that for Craig, So it's really nice to see him kind of step it up and be there for him the way that he wants a friend to be. And again, Shep has come a long way. Audrey comes to stay with Austen. They're going to Rodrigo and Tyler's Greek goddess event. Audrey feels that Austen forgives and forgets way too easily, and that she's the one that kind of looks like the bad guy in the end. Okay. Now Austen feels that when Craig doesn't like his point of view, he was replaced with Salley. And now that Salley and Craig have crumbled to bits, he's excited to see what's going to happen next, When they're at the party, everyone arrives. I feel bad for Audrey when Madison says that Austen's pretending that everything's perfect, but behind the scenes, we all know the truth. That's, I think, everyone's worst fear, that you're in front of a group of people that know a secret behind your back that you don't know. Now, I don't think there's one particular secret that everyone knows about Austen that Audrey doesn't know, but it's like Audrey is in it for the long run, but Austen isn't, and that's what everyone knows, and it just makes me feel really bad for Audrey, because she seems like she's a level-headed girl, good head on her shoulders, So the party's going on, yada, yada, yada. Craig goes to talk to Salley. Salley says, well, why'd you cut me off so quick? Craig's like, I did not cut you off so quick. This is just how I felt. I just kind of wanted, I just said what I felt. I didn't say that we were never going to be friends again. She's like, well, Austen said this about you. And Craig's like, okay, that is crazy, because that's not what I said. Here's the part that really made me believe why I don't like Salley. Because then Salley goes to Austen without saying hi to Audrey, completely ignoring Audrey, going to Austen, flirting with him and saying, like, Craig is not your friend. This is what Craig was saying about you. And Austen believes it. This is where, as much as I don't like Craig, I know that Craig is smart when it comes to stuff like this. He's kind of like a girl. He kind of like assesses the good and the bad. Whereas Austen who you would think would be the girl because of all the situation with the sisters. He has these two sisters. He acts like such a dude, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Blah, blah, and he just becomes like bro energy, you know. And he doesn't realize that it's Salley the one that's causing this. Anyways, in the corner, Charley and Craig are standing, and then Charley clocks it. She's like, "Oh, Audrey's getting up. Isn't it so weird that they're all over each other?" And then Craig says the same thing. He's like, "It's so weird that Sally's all over Austen in front of Audrey." Audrey gets up, walks right by them. And then Austen notices. He's like, "Okay, where'd she go?" The last scene, you see Audrey yelling at Austen behind the scenes, and everyone's just staring. And Salley just got that little smirk on her face. I do not fucking like Salley. That is the nail in the coffin for me right there. Okay. You had the thing with Vanita. Cool. Vanita got over it. I'm going to get over it. I like Vanita. She got over it. I got over it. You could see the lines in the sand. Great. The whole thing with Charley, your shitty friend, that I can't get over so quick. But the way you treated Audrey when you knew that Audrey was there with Austen, and the way you treated Austen when you knew that Austen was there with Audrey, done. I'm done. I can't. Sally's off for good. No longer. I will no longer even have a little, Madison clocks it whenever and I know that she likes Salley, but she likes Salley she likes Salley on a more personable level, like when it's just them two. But in this kind of setting, even Madison talks shit about Salley, and it's not 100% negative. It's 100% the fucking truth. Salley is growth. Leva called it. I actually agree with Leva for once. She's not a girl's girl. And episode 9 just came out. I just saw it on Prime. I cannot wait to go and see what's going on here, because like Salley is just sitting with me the wrong way. And I know that this Southern Charm was filmed a long time ago. So the fact that it's airing now, it's almost now 2 years after that it was filmed that it's aired. Who knows what's happened amongst the friend group? One thing I see in the future is that Vanita really tries with Salley, and Salley brushes her off. Vanita, don't try with that hoe, okay? No one cares about her. But like, wow. Salley, really? This is how you want to redeem yourself? No. Yes, Audrey and Austen break up, but guaranteed, even when they break up, Austen's not coming for you, Salley. You are dead weight in this group. So those are my last 2 cents, you guys. Thanks for listening. Okay, yes, I got heated right there. It triggers me so much when I see girls do that, because I have been that girlfriend that, another girl will go and try to distract my man and then completely ignore me. And then she went up to Austen and Salley at the end. She's like, "Your girlfriend hates me." No, bitch, you didn't say hi to her. What the hell? Why can't you go be the bigger person and just say hi? Because you like Austen. Because you want to be, she just wants to be the fruit of everyone's eyes, It's not going to work for someone like me. I'm sorry. I'm 42 years old. Been there, done that. Seen hoes like you. And I just could not. Anyways, that's that for that, you guys. That is the end of Southern Charm for this week. Stay tuned. I have The Valley coming up. Okay, maybe not today. It'll probably be tomorrow. And I have VPR coming up. They're going to be both 2 separate episodes because they're very long. They're like 2 to 3 episodes each that I have to recap. I am traveling next week, and I will be gone for a month, but I will still be updating. So keep that in mind as well. Give me a little bit of grace, but we're doing the best that we can. Again, if there's anything that you want to see from me or you want to get in contact with me, please go into the show notes. My YouTube is there. My socials are there. You can leave a voicemail on my webpage. Please go onto my blog. Check out my blog posts. Give me a little bit of love. I would love that. If you can subscribe, like, share my podcast, I would really appreciate that too. Thank you for being here with me thus far. And see you for a few more episodes, you guys. Bye, pursuers.